Before definitely we start the class, as usual, I will ask first questions. So, you know, anyway, maybe the best, maybe one of the best is actually we must understand why we have to study these, the four, for example, the four elements now, the Mahabuddha, okay, that means the great, I think someday we translate great elements, yeah, the great elements. And I mean, or even why this Abhidharma. So even I try to emphasize again and again to study Abhidharma. I mean, actually, you are trying to perceive the Dharma directly, or you're confronting the Dharma, or you're facing to the Dharma directly. That's how the Chinese, or that's how the. I mean, so far, according to either the scholars or the Sarasvativada school, they like to interpret rather than interpret as a highest Dharma. Yeah, of course, they are not denying that highest Dharma is also can be understood as Abhidharma, but they rather like to interpret it more on this confronting or facing to the Dharma. Okay. And if you really look at the Sanskrit, sometimes actually they even say that why is it facing is mean like in the sutta always said that when you meditate, you have to put the object in front of you, so they want to relate it to the both are the same thing. Okay. The notes last time I gave it to you, maybe I think we can begin to have a little idea also why study this Dharma is so important and why. And the notes I gave it to you last time on page, I think it's on page 5. Okay. Is it you have page 5, the note, right? And everybody has the last notes, right? Yeah. So I put it called the Living Abhidharma 3, right? Living Abhidharma 3, if you look at on the page 5, actually it's, from page 4 already, but it's from page 5, yeah. So there's a big subtitle called Dharma Yukti. Okay, Dharma Yukti means in Chinese called Fa. Okay. Here, unfortunately, there's no English translation. I think I forget to translate. But anyway, there's a Sanskrit here, so I know that lots of people are very great Pali scholars, so they can read that. Okay. Maybe I will just literally translate for you. Any questions? Why somebody doesn't have the notes?
She's a new person.
Huh?
New person.
Yeah, I have extra here.
No, I gave to her already.
Yeah.
I gave it to her.
Okay, and then that's all I have, I guess. Yeah, one more. Anyone need it? I think there's.
Yeah, I have.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Thank you.
I think that's all I have. Okay. Okay. When you look at that, actually they look at. So firstly, what does it mean by the Dharma Yukti? The Yukti is mean as it something like. Anyway, unfortunately, really, I forget there's no English translation. I thought there was a translation here.
But the Chinese is there, right?
The Chinese there, the Sanskrit is there, okay? But basically mean, okay, just look at the Sanskrit if otherwise. They say what is meant by the Dharma Yukti, okay? So, kena karanena, okay, the Buddha is the skandak, okay? So for example, like, what is the reasons? Okay, what is because of that? What because of the basically mean what are the reasons? Okay, and then what are the? I think the whole thing you want to say. What are the reasons why in the world now that we have to put this skanda? That means the fire aggregates. Fire aggregates as such. In the world, basically, what is the reasons? Well, in other words, you can say why the Buddhism, or what's the reason why it's, in the world we have to take the skanda, that the skanda as such kind of existence. Okay, that means that the fire cricket has such type of existence. So, and then what is the reason? Basically, like we say that the earth have the characteristic of the solidity, right? And then the water have the solidity, the characteristic of what? Is it cohesion? I think moisturing. I mean, cohesion is cohesion also moisturing. Cohesion actually is it's not the characteristic, it's the function or it's the activities. Okay, and then why it is the fire has a characteristic of the warm or something like a warmness or heat, and why the wind have the characteristic of the samudhi, and basically mean changing. Actually, sometimes the samudhi you can translate as a changing or or moving, but I think more connotation of like, I think maybe samudhi, irana, yeah, actually samud irana. So yeah, you can say moving. Basically, maybe best to say that way.
Can we
Yes.
say support?
No, the
function.
support is a function. So we are going to talk that later.
Function and characteristic is two different things. Okay.
So, and then he say later the next one. So basically mean so. So what is the reason? What is the reason, or basically, or you say why all the skandha, due to what reasons the skandha is anityata, okay, is impermanence, okay, and due to what reasons the nibbana is sanda, there's a Sanskrit, kena karanena sandang nirvanang iti, okay, it is called a nirvana. So why? Basically here, it just want to say because tata kena karanena rupana lakshana rupang. Anyway, generally want to say, and it is also what is the reason that the form, rupana lakshana rupang. So the form has the characteristic of the form, okay. Anu upavana laksana vedana. That's but of course that depends on how to translate. Usually we say rupana laksana rupam, but it's especially in Abhidharma Kosa, it's believed that that means the form have the characteristic of the destruction. That means that it's going to be admonished, going to be vanish, going to be broken, So and but that's because if without explanation it's very hard. But then generally when you look at the Sanskrit, it's just saying rupana, laksana, rupan. That means the form has the form characteristic, But sometimes they do have further explanation, means that refer to mean that it will go into destruction or mean the broken, And then the vedana mean that the feelings has the anubhavana lakshana, okay. Well, of course that means you're perceiving, okay. That means anubhavana mean make something to becomes like that, And then the samya mean the consciousness have this, of course, to perceive or as the form of their characteristics. Samskara, that means the formation have the abhisamskara. Of course, that's usually samskara. The word means compose. We compose. So abhisamkara, you could say that it can be make up of it will compose in something, make up something. And the vijnana have this the function of mean the vijnana just mean collectively to know, okay, or that mean in other words mean you say aware, So, but I think the main thing one want to say here, because from those dhamma, swapower as a irisak, and in general, I mean dharma staisa. Generally, he want to say that from those dhamma, so you understand. So this is how it is. It would, in other words, mean this is how it is. They would not have any alternative. Then So, okay, maybe that's, when you look at this sentence, maybe it doesn't make much sense, but I mean, generally you want to say that when you do the practice here, so you understand what is the form, what are these characteristics of them, and what is the characteristic of these 5 aggregates, right? That means including the form, the feelings, remember what are those 5 aggregates, I'm sure. That, first you know what does this mean by the form, and then you understand what are those other 4 rest of the aggregates, right? And then you truly understand that how it is, but that's no any other way, but that's only the way. That's only how the really the reality is. That's what we call Dharma Yukta. So usually it's especially in Mahayana. When I say Mahayana, I mean in Chinese, right? 法尔如是, it's always say Dharma Yukta. It means that is Tata, Dharma Yukta Tata. Okay. In other words, mean that's such it is. It's there's no this is like a real thing, real, no any other. So if you understand this sentence, maybe that's helping you to understand. So the reason why we study Abhidharma also, I mean, not as a theory. Of course, when I remember when I studied Abhidharma in the earlier time, people always think that this is just a theory. It's nothing. It's no use. No argument. That was not the main purpose, at least for the Abhidharmic class. Okay, and that's very important. Okay. Once we know that, we will back to the some more detail now. What the last time we learned. So in the Mahabuddha means in the Greek elements. So the Greek elements comprises of 4, right? So I'm sure everybody knows when we say the Greek elements, that comprises of 4. That means the earth element, the wind element, the fire element, and then the water element. There are 4. But in understanding of these 4 elements, you also have to understand what are the swa power they have. What kind of swa, okay, the swa lakshana, that they itself carry a certain nature, the own nature or self nature. What are these self natures? So what is the self nature of the earth? The solidity is the self nature of the earth. And what is the self nature of the wind?
Moving.
Here translate moving. Okay. Irana is they sometimes translate mobility. Is okay. So that's why the mobility have the meaning of the changing too, right? Okay. And then so what is the swalasana means the self nature of the heat. The fire element. The heat.
You gave us the answer.
What about water?
Humidity.
Okay. So in other and then and it also say and what kind they perform, or sometimes you can say the activities they have. Sometimes actually the word means karma. Okay. What is that they perform? What they do perform, or the function? What is the performing? Or the function, karma, or maybe the activities they do, or sometimes you can say. But normally they use the word karma, okay? What is that? It's different from the Pali system. Pali usually use a 4 distinction, but in Sarvastivadi they don't use those distinctions. They have the lakshana, the same characteristic, but then later they talk about the function, and they use the word like a karma, or what kind of function they use. So what are these? So the earth element have the function of what? Okay, so driti. And then what is the function of the wind element? Extension. And what is the function of the fire element? Maturation. So I think everybody knows what is maturation, right? So what is the function of the water element? Cohesion. So now you know that now when you, in other words, mean when you accordingly, if you start to understand what is a rupa, what is meant by the form, you have to understand the form in terms of the 4 great elements, right? But the 4 great elements, the nature is such and such and such. Okay. For example, if you feel that there's a heart, so something like a solid thing. So you have to understand the solidity is the nature or the self-characteristic of the earth element, right? And then there are kind of like support here. It's also is actually in terms of the function or functional or in terms of a karma or action. The earth element has the actions of like supporting. Okay. It's very abstract in a way, but you know when you do meditation, sometimes when you talk to people, it sounds very abstract, but it's actually that's how you feel, right? So say that, but this is a Sarvastivada system. In Pali, they are a little different, okay? But there's similarity there a lot. But I mean, but don't forget, they still want you to talk, as I mentioned. What is that how you understand? Oh, that the Dharma Yukta is like that. That's what it is, the Dharma. Okay, that's how exactly the Dharma.
So the heart is solidity because it is solid.
Yeah.
So it's earth element and it supports. So the function would be like moving the blood. I mean, the self-nature is like
no,
moving.
you don't have to know the blood, right? Say that if you
liquid or fluid or something.
So the fluid, then you know the something fluid like
it's the water.
Then you know it's a water, right? But then if you feel as in terms of function is moving, extent changing, something like moving, but you don't call that. I mean, in this system, if you talk about it in the language, you don't say that the moving is the water, but you will say that is actually the function. It's a wind. Yeah.
The wind, yeah. The wind,
okay.
And then the water would be the.
Yes.
Let's say you have a pole set on the water, right? So the pole actually is supported by the water, right?
No, but the supporting itself is the earth. Is the earth.
It's the earth. But that function also is from the water, because the water is supported the pole.
No, it's not.
The boat is solid.
Not this way of understanding.
The boat is solid.
So the support itself is the earth, because there is no way that in any moment the four elements can. That's anyway. I think in this also they mentioned that the four elements always exist there.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
So in the water also has an earth. That's not
Yeah, of course. I mean, you cannot say in the water there's earth. It's a strange language. It's the very moment when you observe the four elements. The moment maybe one of the elements or the Greek elements become prominent feature to you, but you cannot say that is only that's the only elements appear, but no other elements there, right? You get it now?
Yeah.
Okay. But when the moment you know this is support, so if it, for the language sake, that means that it's an earth element. When the moment there was something like a cohesion there, so that's mean actually as a function. So it's you're talking about support meaning as a function already, as a function of the earth element. So when you say that as a function of the water, it will be cohesion. So otherwise, any material would never exist also, because without the water elements, like stick everything together, right?
The water is always supported by earth. Whether the oceans are supported by the earth, whether this cup has tea in it is supported by this hard cup. So water is always supported by, I suppose.
But I suppose it basically, in other words, mean any. So okay.
In the kind of a scheme of the natural world that we look at, the characteristics of rupa, right? So it's kind of interacting with all these elements together in a way.
Yeah.
Look at it.
Yes.
Somewhat. Or so you can look at it separately, but also you can look at it in terms of.
No, maybe it's like this. I would not think actually. I know that people like to discuss this in terms of like a physics, in terms of like a
Western.
Or maybe you could say the science, right? Mm-hmm. But that was not actually. Well, I don't know. Nowadays.
This feels like medieval Buddhist science to me.
Yeah, no, but you have to understand it. That's a problem. I don't think they want to talk about science. Okay. They want to talk about what is called the Dharma. Okay, what is mean by the Dharma Yukta? What is mean by the Dharma? So and say that in your meditations, so you're not going to sit and thinking that now I feel the heavy, for example, and then the heaviness itself, it's because of the blah 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 or my neuroscience or because of this and that. No, that's not the concern, right? The heaviness is the rupa. It's a form. It's a material. And but then what it is heaviness as a material? So it's the heaviness is a material of the earth because that's the earth characteristic. Okay.
So if we look at it within the meditation context, the Dharma practice, I think that means.
Yeah, but for a human, they are not doing experience, right? Like using any tools to make anything. But for the human, that's how you can only understand the earth element, right?
Even in the science, right, the reason why the boat is floating on the water, right, is because the solidity, right, water is more dense than wood. And then if you put a metal, right, you will, like the shape of the boat, it will sink because the metal is more solid than the water. But because the wood is less solid than the water, that's why it can float. I mean,
A still ship still float.
But from a support perspective, right, it's solid, right? Because the one is solid than the other.
Well, he's saying look at it within the context of meditation, right?
Yeah, I think it may be easier to understand it within the context of meditation. So that's also the reason why a lot of people find Abhidharma is not useful, but actually it's very useful. It's every time when you just contemplate, you definitely can directly feel the four elements already, the four great elements. So either you first, just give me a second, either you understand it in terms of the or if you put the name in terms of the self characteristic, or you understand as a functional, right? But you knew that already. But yes, what's your
so? Yeah. Ask, all dharmas, the rupa of all dharmas, are composed of the four elements. Is
yes.
that correct?
Yes.
Therefore, when we speak of water, we speak of ocean. We're not thinking just ocean is water and that's the end of it. We're saying the ocean is a thing, and so therefore it's composed of the water element, the earth element.
No. It is. Yeah, you're right. But that is as in terms of any external, even internal, so-called material. They must be comprised of four great elements, right? So okay.
I have nowhere to go.
No, the problem is this: the language. Say maybe the easier to put it this way: put away the language.
Okay.
Forget there's a term called water, because the problem is when you think water, you think water, you say the water mean water, this mean water, that mean water, right? That's our conventional language. Right. Now say that according to this belief that you are facing to the so-called the reality already. That means the satya or this not conventional mean what do you call the ultimate truth, right? So say there's a word called apple. You know what it means apple? Okay. No. Okay. You don't know what it means by apple. Okay, say there's a word called apple, and then that means there's something that support, cohesion. So it's called that word. Yeah. So maybe that's easier.
So focus on just the characteristics and its function.
Yeah, that's the very basic first understanding. Of course, as I just last week also mentioned, when you do meditation, of course, once you know that, and then you also later on you came to understand there was something that bear much more similar or attribute to this much more characteristic tend to have a more similar characteristic to that, to that function. For example, your fluid, your blood, all this is more like the water elements, like you just mentioned too. When you look at the river, the sea, but that's the water, right? Elements. But then the same thing, as you say, when you really understand the nature of the water also, but you cannot the water elements also, because that's how you later you understand actually all elements, everything. Even you look at the water as a water, right? But you will understand the water actually they must comprises the heat too. They must comprises all other elements should be there. The characteristic of all other elements should be in that what you perceive as a water. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So they are called the Greek elements. We know that because they are being both great and having the nature of an element. That's one of the definition. Abhidharma, as I say, is always abstract. Like subtract all the items, dharma, the items from the sutta, and then they analyze it again, right? But why it's called the Greek elements? Because of their being both. Because they are being both great and having the nature of elements. In other words, that's in Sanskrit grammar, or actually Samapati. When you say the word Maha Buddha, right? How you understand Maha and Buddha, this word, as what kind of compound, right? So here, you have to understand this word as a compound, Kamatara compound. Because that the Greek element has these two things. Like you say, if you say he's a Greek king, okay? When you say a word, a Greek king, so maybe in English sometimes easy to understand as, if you understand as the Greek king as a compound or Kamatara, or 从业士, okay, in Chinese, so that it means the king has the character of, has the nature of the great, and he's a king, okay? Get it now? So that's mean by the great, the Maha Buddha. Okay.
So Maha means
Great.
But of course, it does. I think here he will say, that's it's not in. That's why the space, through great, though it's great, is not included among the Greek element. As by element, it means the ability to produce its own fruit. Okay. Here he put the position already, saying that, but that's why the space do not include it. Because according to, it is said that's because you mean that when it's, it has to be the Buddha, mean the elements, so it has to be ability to produce its own swapala, mean the self-fruit. Okay, yes?
That's one that I had a problem with. So
Mm-hmm.
the ability to produce his own food. When we talk about air, what do you mean by food? When I think of air producing its own food, what is it?
I think here the fruit mean that because the space is always, when you talk about the space, you always rely on something to talk about the space. For example, it's a space, right? You must have some other elements there, so that's why the space exists.
Space or lack of something?
No. That's right. Whatever you talk lack of something or what, but the space is because I had to rely on. They don't produce their own fruit. Mean like that. The fruit doesn't mean like a karma. It's not like human. It's mean like the swapa. The on fruit is almost like when you feel there's a heaviness, that's on fruit, right? The space doesn't have that kind of thing. So that's what I mean by that.
So it's negative in terms of it doesn't
Yeah,
have
yeah. So that's why it would not produce any. This Abhidharma, they. But don't forget, sometimes they're more precise, sometimes they get more argument. But yeah. Okay, they are said to be great. Now they also have to define why they say that they are said to be great as they have found all the secondary matter. Okay. So actually, here they define why you call that as a great, mean the Maha, right? Because you can, all these four elements you can found in the secondary elements. That's what we call his secondary matter, or what I translate usually derive the matter, right? So okay, therefore there are only four great elements because, now you're going to say, why there are only four? Because there is no use for any more. Anyway, sometimes the definition is interesting. Of course, there's no use anymore. That's why there must be only four. If you add one more, there's no use. Okay, and the third, there will be inaptitude with regard to the fulfillment of the four functions if any one of them is lacking. So. Generally, just what I mentioned already, that means it should be always there, So if any one of them been taken away, so it become inaptitude means almost like not working. There's no such a thing, okay, something like that. Okay, yes.
Where is the definition of secondary matter?
We're going to talk it. We're going to talk. Yeah.
I haven't gotten to it.
Yeah. Okay. So, and then as in the case of the coach, let's say you have a chair. So if you say a chair, they must have a 4 leg. Of course, nowadays this concept doesn't apply. But like that. If you take one of the leg of the chair, then you don't call that as a chair, right? So like that. So now nowadays the chair can be just 1 leg, right? The big one, big leg.
One chair has 3 legs.
That's a Chinese.
Some of them have 2. Some of them have 1. And they're trying to have no legs. What's that?
Well, actually, I think in the future. Actually, I think in the future there's no leg too,
Yeah,
So, yeah.
Legless chair.
But we know that in those times, that's why I say sometimes when you study something, you have to understand the background, right? So, but they're just trying to say that that should be 4, But if even if the amount of 4, any one of the element been taken away, so it would not form something. So in a way, it becomes an aptitude. So that's what they want to say that. Some of the argument actually, sometimes we look at the discuss, you don't necessarily, nowadays we have a modern mind already, so we can much more easy to understand what they're trying to say too, Okay, look at 1.2. So that's what we are going to talk what is meant by secondary matter. The derived matters are actually not often, are 11 kinds, okay? But of course in Pali it's different, okay? 24. So, but in the Sarvastivadi is 11 kinds, okay? And so it's very simple. Only the last one is very difficult, okay? Because when I say difficult, it's not in Pali at all, okay? So the first one is the eye, second is ear, nose, tongue, body, So, everybody know you have these five organs, and then and the object of the 5 organs, right? But it's also maybe to some people find very strange, but in the Buddhist way, is the object of the 5 organs are considered as the form or matter, okay, rupa. Understand? No problem there, right? So that's what are they? There's a visible rupa, that means the form, the sound, the smell, the taste, and then a part of the tangible, okay? So called Sprastavya Spatasavaikadesa. And then the last one, which is well, actually I hope that today we're going to finish everything except the 11. Okay, so the 11 will be non-information matter, which is very confused one actually. To call Vinyapti Rupa. Okay, 无表示 in Chinese. Okay, so we are going to discuss that in the next class. But now remember there are 11 among that. There are 11. They are called the derived matter. Why they are called derived matter? Because they exist in relation to the great elements. Okay. But to bear in mind, in a certain master in the past in this school, they don't recognize the so-called the secondary matter or derived matter, or depend how you translate. Okay, as the real thing. Okay, when they say real mean as the ultimate thing. They don't regard that. They only regard the 4 great elements. The 4 great elements as the real one only, okay. But then other master do not agree with that also too, okay. Now we are not going to learn those details, but just bear in mind. So there are people who accept this. Even this is in Abhidharma, the way they categorize it. This is as a derived matter. Why we have to categorize also because the Sutta always mention about the eyes and the visible form, right? The nose and the visible, and not the visible, then the odor, and you can smell. But then we also know this is as a matter. But in the Abhidharma, actually the Buddha did also talk about the great elements, right? And then because of great elements, we have these kind of forms. Then they invent another term. The new term is that because of the great elements, we have the other form. That other form is called Bhautika Rupa. Okay, in Sanskrit, it means that based on or have the nature of this, have the nature of the existence. That means have the nature of the four elements. So you have this rupa, that form. So that means like our eyes and nose. In other words, why they call it derived matter is because they are made out of the four elements. Okay. Okay. Yes.
I miss mind.
Huh?
Mind is not there.
But they are not matter.
Uh-huh.
Mind is not matter. Mind is the
It's
mental. We haven't come to the mental yet. Okay. We just come to, that's why you look at the title, the category of matter, right? Right. Yes.
So the derived matter is the secondary matter?
Yes, derived matter and the second matter, it's just a different translation. But it's they have the different translation because in Sanskrit we have two terms too. One is called Bhautika Rupa, one is called Upa what? I sometimes, so. Upadaya, is that? I don't know. I know Pali is Upadaya. I forgot in Sanskrit maybe the same word. So anyway, they have two terms too. Anyway, so do I have the term? You have it?
What does it mean by a part of the tangible?
I think he went here a part by part it because the word of touching, the word of how to call tangibles, because tangible sometimes they can understand as the mental tangible, no, as understand as a tangible as a true ma, but it's even true. So sometimes they understand that this is more to the tangible of the material. Okay. Okay.
You can feel, you can see it.
No, I know, but it's why when you use the as a part, you can just say tangible, right? But here, they want to differentiate is that as a part is mean tangible can be understood here in the rupa, but then tangible can be the mental tangible too. Okay. For example, if I think I have a good time yesterday, it's all mental because my memory, my imagination, right? So, and I feel I have a tangible. I do. My awareness is trying to think about yesterday things, so that's the tangible too. So
Mind cannot work alone, right? Mind has to be a good time. Could be you see something.
why cannot? Why mind can work alone? Why not? Mind of course can work alone.
Without the store, right? There's like
No.
How can the mind can enjoy it?
According to Buddhism, mind definitely can work alone. But when you say work alone, we are not talking the mind can mind exist alone. It's two different questions. Mind can work alone, but mind cannot exist alone. Okay.
Oh, okay. That's interesting.
Okay.
Is that why you tell us during meditation, like, forget the body and focus on the mind? Is that
Yeah,
it?
that's yeah. So samadhi or anything is only working in the mind, is not in the body. But of course, sometimes anyway, that's another big discussion also. But just leave it there at the moment. Yes. Okay.
Number 11, no,
Yeah.
no form.
Yeah, and vinyapti. Yeah, we are going to talk that later.
It doesn't mean intangible or mind.
Well, scholars have a big study of what is vinyapti. I'm not necessarily agree sometimes. But I don't want to talk it now because it's a big topic. And I would first say that how people generally understand what I mean by vinyapti. And this is actually one of the very difficult. Well, generally, vinyapti means is a form. Okay, the form, but it's not the form doesn't produce. The form is not produced by the mind, but it's produced by the speech and the body action. Strange. Okay.
Form produced by matter.
Yeah, of course it should be by matter. That's why it's included as a secondary or derived matter. So I myself believe it more like actually it's vinyapti is more like when because if there's a form, basically it's almost like you can know somebody walking, but you don't see the people, the physical body walking, but there's vinyapti walking. For example, you can see there's almost like not a shadow, it's something, it's very hard to say. It's a very abstract. Just like some people, as I say, there's hardness. Hardness is very abstract, right? You feel, there's a hard, there's a light, there's a heavy, something like that. Then there's somebody walking, and then this is physical body walking after it. That's called avinyapti. They have. It's a very complicated topic here. Generally, with that they know whether these people have the precept in the body or not without having the precept in the body. So this body is not the normal people can understand the body. So
I see.
okay.
So you gotta have some sort of divine eyes or special power to see it.
I can anyway. Can we leave that later? So just know the 10 first, okay? Otherwise we are gonna. So yeah. So we're gonna otherwise. Yeah, first know the 10 first. The one that we easily understand first. Even though it's easy to understand, but for practical reason, it's not very easy to practice all the time. Because all our time is always been using our rational, right? You see a thing is all rational, understand it, but we never really directly, understand what they are, So this is why we say that first you have to understand this swa, that means the self nature of it, Okay. Okay. Now look at this first 1.21. Maybe somebody read that for me. I can have a time to have a sip of water.
I'll read it.
Good.
Among these derived matter, the eye is the basis, astraya, I don't know if I said that correctly, for visual consciousness. Its function is seeing of visible, and its essence consists of subtle matter. The auditory, gustatory, olfactory, and tactile faculties are to be understood in the same manner.
Thank you. Okay. Now, among these 11 kinds of the derived matter, okay. But this is not the 4 Greek elements, remember, okay? The derived matter, so the eye is the basis of the visual consciousness. No problem with that, right? No one have the problem with that, okay? And then what is the function of it? The function is that it's the seen or the visible thing. Right. And its essence, okay, in other words, his body, the essence of it consists of subtle matter, prasada rupa. This is, of course, is a very big topic, especially later on in Yogacara school. That's the one that they really disagree with also, okay? And Sutradhara, those who based on the Sutta also disagree with also. But in all the Abhidharma, including the Pali Abhidharma and the Sarvasti Abhidharma, they also talk of this so-called Prasada Rupa. But I feel that actually in the Sarvasti Abhidharma, didn't even take this Prasada Rupa, this subtle matter, as important as in the Pali tradition. Okay, but Pali tradition even take it much more serious. Okay, so what is meant by the prasada, subtle matter? It is believed that you have the eyes, the essence of the eyes or ears or nose, but of course, particularly there's a certain part like the eyes. If you look at the eyes, iris, iris, the in the middle of the eyes. And if the ear, you have to check, first you have to check the ear, but there's a little drum inside the ear, okay, the part. For the nose, so the internal nose, there's a little, like a big, maybe like a drum too, I don't know how to say, like a two slope. Sometimes it can be like a, looks like what? The grapes. You have the wine and then you have some hanging there on the grapes, like a Bhutao grapes. And for the tongue, of course, for the whole tongue. So for the tongue, and the body certainly is the whole body. So in those areas, so they believe that if you meditate again and again, you can see this inside, then they have this kind of small particle. So that's why they have a term called as the prasada rupa, because the word prasada in Sanskrit is very clear. It's referred to, it should be bright, crystal kind of light there. So and then it's believed that it is derived matter. So this 11 derived matter, okay, then they have this kind of, what kind as an essence is the small particle there, okay? And the particle, it's a very tiny, small particle anyway, bright particle. I mean, like what? How to describe this thing?
Dust.
Yeah, like a dust. Too good. Like a dust, but it's a bright dust. You know, that's it's like a crystal kind of dust. You know. So and this is they call the prasada rupa. But as I say, other school are really against this concept, and they have their logical argument too. Okay.
Is that the smallest substance?
Yeah, that's why nowadays people like to call them maybe like atoms or electronic or whatever, you know. But I don't know, because I really don't know how physics, because sometimes, you know, the way we learn physics in the past now is not very anymore. So I don't really know what kind of. Yeah, that's why I say there are so many theory about the physics.
It's all empty, it's energy. They say.
Yeah.
You see it as particles, waves. It's all empty.
Yeah, but maybe the easier way to say, to describe at the moment, like the atoms, you know, and those smallest particles. So, but that's why it say that it's here. The same thing for those, you know, they have the consist of the subtle matter. Okay, no any other question, right? Okay, all right. So now then we understand when. Now again, I need to repeat this again. So first understand what is the basis for the visual consciousness. Okay, the eye. Okay, so but you have to know that the consciousness. I don't know. The eye is the basis for the visual consciousness. Okay, and also the function is able to see. Okay, I'm sure you know that. The nose's function is able to smell, but we're going to talk that later. So remember the essence that it consists of the subtle matter. Okay. Now look at that, the next one, 1.22. Any other volunteers to read that? Yes, please. Yeah.
The visible is of two kinds, colors and shapes. Thus, the
Bhagavat.
Bhagavat has spoken of bad colors and bad shapes. Among them, there are 12 kinds of visibles, which are color, blue, yellow, red, white, cloud, smoke, dust, mist, shadow, sunlight, luminosity, and darkness. There are 8 kinds of visibles, which are shapes, long, short, square, round, high, low, even, uneven. Thus, we have a total of 20 kinds of visibles.
Okay. Now, usually in Sarvastivada school, when you say how many kinds of visible there's, either you say 20 or 21. I'm going to say that later. What is the other one? Okay. But now, first understand, because they try to quote from the text. Actually, I don't know where this text from. I hope that one day I might come across. I will let you know. Okay. Or if you come across, because the Buddha did one in the Buddhist text say that the Bhagavan means the Buddha. Okay. The lucky one or the blessed one. The blessed one has spoken that the bad colors and the bad shapes. You know, they just want to say. Actually, I couldn't trace it where, and nobody traced it yet. You know. So it means that in the Buddha, once it mentioned there's a bad color and bad shapes. They just want to say that in order to prove that, now they want to differentiate this shape and color without notion, without reason, and without not out of reason. They must have the reason, because the Buddha did say that. Okay, but I couldn't quote it where, and I cannot remember any text to say that. Maybe it did have a text, I'm sure. Otherwise, they would not put it. It might be some text is not included in Pali or in so far the Chinese, maybe lost or somehow. You know. Okay, it might be, or might be still there, but I still couldn't find it. There's so many Buddhist texts. But anyway, that we know there's a, and we don't know, that's why in other words, we don't know what to mean by the bad color and bad shape too, because we don't have the context to read. Okay, as I say. Okay. So I do know that Elena, but Elena didn't come today, and she asked this question: what does it mean by the bad color and bad shape? We don't know exactly. Okay. But anyway, so here they say when you say these the colors, you have to understand there are 12 colors. Among that, as usually the 4 are the prime color. Okay, so that's the blue color, the yellow color, the red color, the white color. Okay. Do remember this. This is how very important in meditation. It's always just talk this. Okay, that's why in the Buddhist tradition you don't talk some other thing, because they are the main color. Okay, the main prime color, the blue, the yellow, the red, and the white. And then also, when you meditate, also actually in front of you sometime, or when you close your eye, when you open your eye, especially when you close your eye, that's what you see too. The cloud, apra, the smoke, duma, okay. And then the dust, then so rajas, and the mist, it's different between the dust and the mist. In meditation, that's why this is not talking all that kind. And then
hallucinating, but it's actually
it's okay.
I've seen all this stuff.
Yeah,
during
good.
meditation.
And then the shadow, the dark shadow, okay. Yeah, people like to explain it only in the life. It's not in life. Actually, it's that you always see this in meditation. And the interesting is that some people they don't know how to distinguish the next two, the atapa and the aloka. Okay, the sunlight and the what we call the luminosity. Okay, the aloka basically in Buddhism is more the light reflect from your brain. I shouldn't say brain. Reflect from your meditation. So when your mind is clear, the light will appear. That's what we mean, 光明想嘛，光明 in Chinese.
That means your mind is pure?
Yeah, when your mind is pure. And then the atapa, it's more like because outside light influence you. Okay. So that's why in Sanskrit it's a different word. So they translate as a sunlight, atapa. Okay. For example, maybe the easier to say this. For example, but this I don't think that I myself don't believe when they say that atapa it's only for sunlight, but it's maybe easier to say. For example, when you meditate, you might be visualize a candle, right? The light of a candle. So and then that's the light of the candle, and when the light of the candle. When you close your eye because you're in front of the lighted candle, so you feel the light there. This is called atapa. Okay, you get it now. So, but then when you meditate, become when you're able, of course, to put the form of the candle up there, so that light of candle in front of you. Of course, this usually we call as a limita, but then you start to see the form, right? The shape of it. So, and then this is what we talk about the shape, the long shape, okay? Now, and you also, when you meditate, become much more stable, because you see, if you switch off the light, of course, you're in front, the other part is not strong, so normally it's much darker. But then when your mind is so calm down, and then the light become very. Somehow there's a light there, That is called aloka. Get it now? Okay. Yeah, of course, sometimes the aloka, very strong. Aloka can be strong aloka and not strong aloka. I want to say this mean because atapa means the sun ray influence you too. Okay. So that's why you remember when people asking when they do meditation, when they ask this question, the teacher will ask you, is it outside light or inside light, right? Okay.
So are you saying that these visible things described in this paragraph are mind visible during meditation? He's not talking about conventional daily life?
No, I do, but usually we start with the internal, right? We do. I mean, like we mentioned the last time, say when you say the understand the 4 great elements, you always first understand the 4 great elements in terms of internal one. So, and even maybe including your blood is also the earth element, right? Remember not the blood, the organs is the earth element. The water, like the blood and all as a water element, right? So when you look at external, either you open your eyes or closing your eyes, the river as the external water element, right? So
But this internal light also have different colors.
Hmm?
Also have different colors.
Well, I think that's why they call it as a primary color, because I somehow think one thing is because the traditions, they put this four color as the main color, and I'm sure they understand very well this four color, when you combine together, it can produce some other colors too. So that's why they call it as a prime color.
So who teaches
Yeah.
the discs? Did you ever try that meditation where they have this color and then you see it and then you try to visualize that? Is that how it's taught?
Visualize the disc.
Kasinas and
Yeah, the casinos definitely use the full color.
so it's have you done that, or who teaches that kind of? Do you have a disc of color like red and then you look at that?
Yeah,
and
you just look at
visualize
it and then
the
then it just appear the disc.
So you can make your own. Then.
Yeah, I last time I told them it's very easy to make it on, because nowadays the technology is so simple now. You can just buy what to call like the white color, what to call in English. I even don't know how to call it in Chinese actually. 就是你们买东西 when you buy something in a box, sometimes they will protect the thing, they will form the form. You can cut the form and then you paint a color, either you just use a kind of cloth. That's so easy, you know. It's a business art too. You know, and you just keep it there when you meditate and close your eye. Up to it, only up to it will just appear the disc color. That's
So
why
do
we
you do that in Sri Lanka?
Yeah, they do that, but they don't do the yeah. It's yeah, it's common. Yeah. Mm.
So you say whenever you practice that, and you can bring up the object, that's internal light, or what's different?
I think I don't want to discuss that internalized. No, I just want to. Has this anything to do with what we are talking now? I'm starting to link it up.
Because I saw it before, I don't know what it is.
No, it's not internalized. I don't know what you mean by internalized sometimes. But it's in Buddhist language, it's different. Okay, the Buddhist language will say it's because your samadhi, when you can focus and then you can cast away all these things and this will appear. And this is how, when that appear, you come to a stage called samadhi. So maybe why don't we just stick to the language? You know, unless I'm a scientist now, I talk to some other scientists in order to convince him to believe there's something exists. So, and otherwise I will try not to try that. Because we talked it for different purpose, right? Okay. Right, let us go on a little bit. What else? We need to go on. Okay. Oh, no, we haven't talked that yet. So, what are these so-called the shape, right? The shape have 8 types of shape. The long, and then what is that? The short, square, round, height, and low. So, and you know that what I mean by height, right? You feel the height, you feel the low, right? So, and actually you find these languages always, when you meditate, you always talk about it, you know. And then the even, okay, like parallel, sometimes you could say. But usually it's not a parallel, even actually, even and uneven, it means the shape that you can expect, the shape you don't expect. So like irregular, you know, called uneven, you know. And if a parallel shape or anything is, how to say, like a symmetric, yeah, maybe good word. If it's symmetric, or yeah, that's a good word actually. Why they translate even? So maybe symmetric.
Symmetrical, yeah.
Symmetrical, you know. So and asymmetrical. Okay. Okay. Now I let you to take a little rest and try to discern the color and and think about the 4 great elements in terms of the functions, in terms of the self characteristic, okay, and also understand there are how many types of these derived material or derived matter, and among them also, at least now we learned for the eyes, you know, what is the base of the eyes, what is the object of the eyes. Get it now? What is the object of the eye? What's the base of the eyes? And then according to what is the essence of the eyes also. And then what if the visible thing, well, what are they? You know, of course there are 20 of them. I'm going to say that one more, 21. But the 20 of them, what are these 20? You don't necessarily remember all, but you know something regard to the prime color and something regard to what they call. It's also color, but it's not a prime color, secondary color, you could say. And then they call the color, not necessarily color as such, and then the shape. Okay, they are altogether 20. Okay, so enjoy your drink or whatever. So try to discern those things. Okay, I'll see you in a minute. All right. Even though I tend to believe I tend to believe think that how this Abhidharma categorized the visible objects, as 20, mostly from meditation. Of course, sometimes we must understand. So we also have to understand it's not only just only internal thing, but it can be understood as the external, because if that's a real Dharma, right? So we are going to read something further. It's about these external visible objects, right? The visible object in terms of understanding in terms of external way, but we are going to read like 1.2.2. Sorry, maybe easier to say 1.2.2.1. Okay, 1.2.2.1. All right, maybe someone like to read it through. Maybe give the chance to other. Yeah, someone like to read it? Yeah.
Herein, mist is the water vapor, nihara, from the earth. Sunlight is the radiance, prabha, of the sun. Luminosity is that of the moon, stars, fire, herbs, gems, and lightning, etc. Shadow is that which is born from obstruction to sunlight and luminosity by object, and where other visibles remain visible. Darkness is the contrary to this. For example, where there is no visibility at all.
Okay, good. And can we just read another one? I don't think that's any question to talk about that. Yes, yeah.
Okay. A square shape is that whose boundary is square. A round shape is one. Whose boundary is circular.
Well, I mean that for the kids, they really need to learn that through, right?
That's true.
Yes. Okay.
So do I. A regular shape is even, and an irregular shape is uneven.
Very good.
Okay. And no, the rest. There's some more. One more. Yeah.
Other visibles will not be explained as they can be easily understood. These 21 kinds are the objects of the visual consciousness as well as the mental consciousness induced thereby.
All right, thank you. But I don't know why they suddenly, at the end.
21.
I think that might be there's a typing mistake. There should be. I don't know why. It could be because it's based on a Tibetan, but if you read the Chinese will say 20. Okay, and but then it is true that sometimes it also can be accepted as 21. They add one more. They add one more. I think they have the on the notes, but I cannot remember the English term. It's called. Do they have in the notes? Maybe no, not in the notes. Yeah, they have in the notes. So is it in the notes? Let me see. They might have it. They might not. They might. I don't know whether they put it in the notes. It's okay. I'll check later. But I know that the other one is referred to mean the sometimes Chinese translate as a kong. Okay, that means empty. But it's not space. That's why I want to say that's a problem in Chinese. Sometimes when you say kong, but the word actually is called it refer to this what you call infermentation. Is it the sky? They have a word called infermentation. Infermain. I found out how to the English word.
Sky could be firmament.
Yeah, firmament. The firmament.
Firm.
I thought that was here.
That's the earth, firmament is the earth.
That was the sky.
Celestial.
No, I don't know the translate. I think did I put it here even?
Yeah, firm is firmament. That are firm.
But anyway, so I will check the English term now later. But in Chinese they only write Kong. Okay, the space, but it doesn't refer to the space because they reject the space already. Then they talk space. They say that space cannot be considered as a secondary material, right? So I'm not going to. They definitely that this space, but in Sanskrit it certainly is a different word. It means anyway the sky. Okay, the sky is kind of color is like the greenish blue color sky. Okay, so and they include the sky as one of the called the color, not the primary color, but the color. So that's why if we include that as one kind of color, so then altogether you add it up to 21. Okay. Maybe that's I don't know whether it's a mistake or maybe because of the Tibetans. I don't know. Okay, check that. But in Chinese, certainly mentioned 20. Okay. Now look at the south now. So we can be usually roll up all these 6 organs and the 5 organs and the 5 objects. So, Yong, you going to read that? Yeah.
There are 2 kinds of sound. Differentiate as to whether they're caused by the great elements which are appropriated by consciousness or by those which are not appropriated. What is integrated into the human organism is said to be appropriated by consciousness, which to say conscious. Otherwise, they're said to be unappropriated. Those produced by the former are said to be caused by appropriated great elements, sounds of speech and the hands, and etc. Those produced by the latter are said to be caused by unappropriated great elements, sounds of wind, the forest, etc.
Okay. Now, so when you understand the sound, so understand it in 2 ways. They are divided into 2. One is called appropriated, and one is not appropriated. So if you have a time to read the note, you will know the word appropriated by Upada. So in the Sutta, the terms used different from even the Pali, Dhammasangani, Abhidhamma. Okay. I mean the Sutta usually here it refers to the external object only Upada. Okay. But then looks like Dhammasangani. That's what the if you are interested in further. So that the Pali Abhidhamma text use the word appropriate, I mean Upada, as in almost like a kind of you have like grasping the Dangha, okay? So grasping the Dangha. But in here, in this here, the word appropriated or Upada, okay? So be understood, basically here they said it very clearly. But why it is called appropriated, it's that when it's integrated into the human organisms, so it's called appropriated. But it's otherwise they're called unappropriated, But for example, so the human organism, like the sound that makes from your human, like that, that's called appropriated, but which is not from the human, so from the human organism, so it's called unappropriated. Okay. So in other words, mean if you learn the term upada, appropriated in Abhidhamma, in Pali, it's have a different definition, but in Sutta have a different definition. But then now you learn Sarvaswata, there's another different definition. Okay.
Why can't we just say the produced by human and the other used by nature?
That's
Right.
well,
It's too easy.
let me answer this to you. Maybe your question is I'm sure one day if I study music, I would say, why you want to speak that way? Why don't you speak other way so I can understand? It's a language.
Referring to more like sounds that you hear versus sounds that may exist not heard by anyone. So if there's like a wind somewhere but no one's listening to it, does that sound exist?
I also think I like to think it that way too. It might be also, but But you still can hear the sound because when you talk the sound, you can hear it. So I think here is much more like, the definition of the word when they say the upada. So more like appropriate. Well, when you say appropriate, it's something that we mean here by ourselves and here by the others. For like what kind of thing like the people don't hear. We all, if we talk about the sound, we all can hear the sound, right?
But there could be sounds made by birds in the forest that no one is there to hear it. So if no one's perceiving it, does that
So you
sound
mean you're
there?
unappropriated? Yeah, that would be good. But I'm not sure. But here they define. So it's mean something you make with the humans. Some they don't. I'm not sure. Like music is belong to appropriate and inappropriate actually. Yeah.
So it's somewhere in the middle.
Appropriated,
I think it should be appropriate because it's still made by the human.
That's true.
Yeah.
it says appropriated by consciousness, so that
Ah.
would suggest to me that what Stephen's saying makes sense in the sense that I can not only is there the sound of a bird, but it's entering my consciousness.
The event.
The event happens regardless of whether it enters consciousness or not, although I don't see the significance.
Okay, but then what about the unappropriated?
That's,
I thought that would mean sounds that exist independent from people's hearing of them.
So I mean, if the people would not hear, but the sound exists there, so called unappropriate.
Like a baby could be crying, no one hears it, but the baby's crying, the sounds are there.
Well, if that's the case, that's right. I say that then we have to see how to define the word appropriate, yeah. I guess that's okay. I wouldn't say what, but I mean according to the text, they just define one is more like internal, one is external, right? So. That, but I just in the notes actually the footnote even mentioned that, but the definition is different. Even like in Pali when they use this term, I mean in Abhidharma, when they say appropriate upada, it refers to still with the craving, or anupada without the craving. But here it looks like more like one is, and as I say, more internal or external. So yes.
And the consciousness only refers to human consciousness. So that's
No, not necessarily human, like the self. That means that someone's consciousness, right? Here they didn't say the word like a manusha. They integrate into human organism. Actually, I think it's just a translation. The word originally means atma power, right? Atma power means the self. That self.
sounds like the empty.
So the words put there atma power, but I think the translation is not good. If that's why, maybe the best to say what is integrate into the self organism. Maybe it's easier. Maybe actually, the beings organization or organism. Maybe yeah.
Or like a dog barking. So is that appropriate or inappropriate? Like a dog or cat?
I think it's appropriated. Maybe. It looks like the inappropriated here, it's more like the natural thing. Like the river down and
Water flowing,
yeah, water flowing, I know.
I mean, if you go to the next one, it kind of explains it a little bit.
Yeah.
Well, it breaks it further down.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's look at it, yeah.
Dhammadipa?
Yes.
I just wanted to say that the way I understand it,
Mm.
I don't know if this is clear, but
Mm-hmm.
if you internalize something, because if you hear it and you internalize it and you appropriate it, take charge of it,
Yeah.
then it becomes appropriate because you're integrating it into yourself. And I think what Stephen was talking about kind of makes sense.
Mhm.
And if a baby is crying, but you don't pay attention to that baby, you're not appreciating that particular sound. But if you react to it and you internalize it and it becomes part of your consciousness where you respond to that child, then it is an appropriate sound.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, if I just read the term, I also tend to think that would be a better explanation. But we'll check it in the future, see whether they actually have this kind of implication or the reason why they want to define the word appropriate and inappropriate in such a way, So, okay. So let's look at 1, 2, 3, 1. Okay. Any this side, right side? Want to read 1, 2, 3, 1?
I'll read.
Okay. So you're very behind. Okay, great.
These two kinds are subdivided into 4, according as whether they relate to a being or not. Among the first kind of sound, human speech relates to a being. The other sounds do not relate to a being. Among the second kind of sounds, the speech of the
Apparition. That's the ghost.
Being related to a being. The other sounds do not relate to a being.
Okay, all right.
Is that what they mean? Apparitional, like apparitional ghost?
These two kinds, yeah. In other words, I mean they relate to the beings or not beings, right? Sattvaka and so on. Okay, we can discuss. I think it might be good. We have a break later. Discuss. So let's read it another one too, because we haven't finished it yet. 1, 2, 3, 2. Yes.
These again are divisible as being agreeable and disagreeable, thus making a total of 8 different kinds of sound, which are all objects of the auditory consciousness and mental consciousness infused thereby.
Okay. So now they are all together. Have totally they are making 8 different kind of sounds, right? So first, can you make the chart yourself? No. That's agreeable. It's called appropriate and non-appropriate, right? And among that appropriate, among the appropriate and non-appropriate, then you still have what we call it. Let me see. Sattvaka means they relate to the beings or not relate to the beings, right? So there are 4, right, already. So let's say they relate to the beings, and then you still have to divide it into 2 again. Mean you like it or don't like it. Basically, mean agree to the mind, disagree the manoja or amanoja. So that's why altogether, if we count it, there are 8 types, right? Okay, you get it now? If it appropriate means say that produced by any beings, inappropriate if we say that produced by any that's non-beings, maybe. I like to say this way. Like say the 5 forest or land and natural thing. And then among that, but there's a strange thing here. I find it. So among things that they are divided into 2 kinds. One is mean being and non-beings. The appropriate one is easy to understand. It's appropriate. It's mean the beings and non-being, because either they mixed by the sound of humans or the sound that's not the humans, right? But so if that's the case, so I think just now what I explained might be wrong, because if you can explain it, non-being refer to what? But he did say that among this second kind of sound. So is it the second kind of sound mean non-being, right? Mm-hmm. The speech on like apparitional beings relate to the beings, and other sound do not relate to beings.
What do you mean like the speech of an apparitional? That to me sounds like a ghost.
It is a ghost.
Oh, okay. That's right.
Kind of like a ghost. It means not the beings. Among the second kind of sounds, the speech of an apparitional beings related to beings, and other sound do not relate to being. I don't.
So anything that's created by a human being is appropriate in the great element, and any non-human thing is unappropriate great element.
Yeah.
That's easier for me. That's what I wrote down.
Well, that's.
So even yeah. Well, the problem is it is a ghost, an apparitional, a human being, or a non-human being. because it's no longer alive. It's a background.
Okay, I give you the 5 minutes, maybe the both of for you to discuss whatever. But I mean, at least you must have looked at the subject further discussed. What's the time? Oh, we have actually we almost have time. 2 minutes then. Okay. Think about it.
Well, for me, this first paragraph, this word appropriated means it's something that has entered into a consciousness. That's what appropriate means. Take it for yourself.
Maybe that's a better explanation actually.
That's been entered into the sense organ.
Right, yeah, okay.
But that which is not entered some sort of
Unappropriated.
That makes sense.
That's why it says sounds. But I take this last word to mean sounds that people are not hearing, unheard sounds. But then the problem is that this doesn't relate to this second paragraph. What it seems to me is that this is that humans do not hear that. That's why it says everything.
But that are which are already like consciousness.
Yeah, appropriated.
Unappropriated sounds can be.
所以我刚刚认为是哪个是
Ones of
Two is about human and not human, and the other one is.
I think this, yeah.
And then those are the appropriated, and then the second 3 or 4
Speech of a non-human being, but a sort of a, you know what I mean, like a hungry ghost speech or something. And then it would be sounds that are just unhelpful. So you can hear a river, or you cannot hear a river. So it can be either appropriated or unappropriated.
If you're working with a
It doesn't turn on
Well, if you want to break that into unconscious, you could actually process sound without the conscious. Yes, what they're talking about.
But you know what?
But what I'm saying too is what they found out now, that we can process a lot of things that we're not conscious of because if we bypass the hippocampus. Yeah, but the thing is because it's still part of the body. Yeah, at least you don't know where you got the process. Consciousness is very small. We're not That's also precious.
So we're walking through the forest.
But then if you have divine ears, you can actually yeah, still.
Okay. All right.
But that's not here.
Okay. So anyone has ladies and gentlemen, right? Sorry. So because of time, sorry, I should have given more time, but it just the time is so limited. But anyway, so anyone come up to the conclusions? Or don't say conclusion. Any good ideas? What do you understand that? Yes, please.
An appropriated sound which would be something that has intelligence in it and is the communication. Human being, not every sound a human being makes has a communication of intelligence in it. Maybe you yawn or something like that, or hiccup. That would be a natural sound. But to be appropriated by consciousness might mean to have gone through a filter of intelligence and to have intellectual content or mental content, like a sutra given by the Buddha. Even though on a purely material level, that's just sound, on another level, it's communication and content.
Yeah.
Whereas a tree falling in the forest doesn't really have a meaning or content.
But if it, but then how do you? That's a good explanation actually. But then how do you include? How do you count there 8 or total in total? Especially for the inappropriate one.
Yeah. I could maybe figure out from reading it again. I don't have it on the top of my head.
But I mean, that's a good explanation actually. Sure, yeah.
I think one kind of sound has intelligence, is worth listening to, and you'll learn something from it. Another sound is just meaningless. It's a material event, and that's all.
Okay, good. So Stephen?
I have a slightly different theory.
Yeah.
So I think the 2 broad categories he first makes are sounds that are heard, therefore meaning perceived and entering by the sense organs into the person, and sounds that exist in the world that we don't hear, like sounds that are happening at a monastery. And then he breaks that further into the sounds that we hear can be either created by humans or by nature, not humans. And then the second kind of sounds, meaning the sounds that we don't hear, can either be made by
human.
No, non-human.
Yeah, non-human.
Like heavenly realm people.
Yeah.
They maybe are making sounds. We can't hear them because we're here on this earth. And of course, the other sounds would be natural sounds, not made by humans. And of course, all those possible 4 can be either pleasant or unpleasant.
That's right. Yeah.
Yes.
Very good. Yeah. Thank you. Actually, that's true. But yes, you have something to say, yes.
I have a question. The being here, does that only refer to human being or just refers to any living thing?
I think any living things, but then that they still separate the living things from no, I think no, I think let me look at the words. That's what I want to say later. It looks like translation. There's some messy part here. Looks like. Yeah, it's. I think you want to say one. The being is mean the other one is no. They're kind of like there's beings. There's apparition beings, and there's a nature thing. Do we have a talk about non-beings? Non-human.
Apparition would be non-human.
Yeah, the only apparition is a non-human. Yeah. So in other words, so usually say that we don't hear the things, we don't hear the sound from non-humans. So, but I mean, if that's the way I understand as apparition, anyways.
So Deva speaks.
So that means we can hear the sound. We call apparition. I also get this. I agree with this. I'm going to say why. But when you say that there's the sound that can hear, it's the being sound. I mean, not the divine beings or the something beings here, we're not necessarily restricted to like only human, but like bees is also beings, right? But I think that maybe something apparition here refer to something. Usually people don't hear it unless you really have a supernatural power, right? I guess that's what they want to say. Here, the word non-being is not necessarily what we think this mean, not human, but it's only that. But it's something like a ghost or maybe the divine beings that you need. It requires a little different skillful to hear that. Yeah. So it refers to that. Yeah.
I have different interpretation. Sound in its primary form is nothing, just sound.
It is just a sound, yes.
Then people put in defined various sounds. What does it mean to relate it to the experience?
Yeah, but that's when that's how categorize it. They want to say that I hear the sound, which is apparition, for example.
You also learn to it, you condition to it, and you become a habit to it. And right away, when you hear some pitch, you know that it is defined as such.
No, I don't get it. No, I mean, I don't understand that. I mean, we just talk about that's a material, right? The material have the sound. So it's just in the system trying to define when you say the sound, so you have to understand there's a sound that you get it, you don't get it. Maybe something like this, maybe easier to say. You hear it or you don't hear it. But the sound is still there, but there still is a matter, as a matter, right? I think that's what they're trying to say. And then we say that there are 8 times. Then why do you have 8 times? Because, you know, that's how because that's you hear it or you don't hear it. So, and among the hear this, there, you know, they can be into 2 types, and among the not hear this can be in another 2 types too. And I think that's what so far that's what they want to say. But what I think that the translation, I'm not sure why they translate this. I think maybe the best I can ask if I one day. It's but if you look at the Chinese, I check on the Chinese. The Chinese they say that when it had one more word, say, like you say, no, actually it did say here in English, which is to say conscious, right? I think we ignore the word conscious here. I mean, if you're conscious, it means that's why what is integrated into beings, organisms, system is said to be appropriate, which is to say conscious, I mean, because you can aware it, you know, you're conscious it, yeah, I guess so. So in Chinese, very clear. I actually just now I didn't see the word. So which just means it's conscious. So appropriate here mean but so you could say when it is upada that. So when you say that it's appropriate, because it's mean conscious. Yeah, I think that's the confusion should be stopped. Okay. I think that's the time is almost up. So, the next class, you have to read very difficult one actually, but just read it first. Where to read that is called the unmanifested or non-information matter, Avinyapti Rupa. Okay. Let me see. Avinyapti Rupa is up to where? Which is up to page 70. No. Page up to 78. Okay. But I have to say, this is a very unusual topic, the Avinyapti Rupa. And it's one of the topic also the school attacking so much. So I'm not surprised if you not agree also. Okay, and you might be fight problem also because it's unusual concept. I mean, for lots of even including other school like Theravada school. Okay, but you just read through it first, and anyway, that's important. You just go through it, and then we are going to discuss that in the next class. I guess the next class we don't have to read line by line, you know. So we just have to first asking what it is Vinyapti to your understanding, maybe give you some time to discuss a little bit, and then we'll come to have a maybe basically have a whole picture of it, what is meant by Vinyapti. But of course, before that, we still have to talk a few things. It's not very difficult one about the taste. We haven't talked about the taste, and then the touching too. But actually, touching is also one of the interesting subjects. But anyway, so and then should be next class. I think we hope just covered Vinyapti and all these secondary matter. Okay, basically. All right. Thanks for coming. Yeah. Yes, actually, so because this coming Saturday, 10 o'clock in the Temple of Enlightenment, right in Bronx, we are having this like a chanting for the Ulambana, yeah. So that if you have time, please do attend, because that's especially in the Chinese traditions. So it's the very short chanting, but then the chanting is mainly for either the deceased one or the present ones. So for them to grow merit, the Greek merit. In Theravada, they have a tradition to offer the thing for the monks. But in the Chinese, actually, that's one of the also important occasions for offering to the monks also. Okay. On this coming Saturday at 10 o'clock. Okay.
愿此功德上可功德回向我等与众生，共成于佛道。萨埵萨埵萨埵。